July 13th intermediate planning webinar. Today we'll be going over the economic payback of foliar feeding soybeans. So quick run through our agenda for today. We're doing our introduction, and then we'll identify possible soybean fields that you're looking at applying a foliar feed to, select zones and work scenarios representing standard assumptions and associated costs, compare return on investment zones and scenarios, and then we'll follow up with any questions that anyone might have. Before we begin, I want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Dan Bahe. I am one of the Precision Business Planning Specialists here at AgSolver. And you can see my contact information in the chat box. My email is djbahe@agsolver.com, or you can email any support questions to support@agsolver.com. And then also you have my cell phone number, which is 319-238-1978. I do want to mention that we are in Q&A mode, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions in the chat box below here, and I will answer those accordingly throughout the webinar. All right, now we'll hop into Profit Zone Manager. So I'll move the chat box over to the right-hand side. And so what we're going to do, we're actually going to hop out of this enterprise for time being and hop into another training enterprise. And so what we're first going to be looking at is soybean fields from last year on our own actual operation. So last year we didn't apply a foliar feed on our soybeans, and we'll be first reviewing that yield data and the financial performance. And then in 2014, we actually did apply a foliar feed to about a 110, 115 acre field. And so we'll be reviewing that financial performance, and then we'll create today's scenario with prices, today's input prices. But the first field that we're going to look at is the Davis home. This was, or actually we're going to hop into the Sanders field. So Sanders, just taking a minute to upload. We'll look at 2015 actual soybeans. So this is about a 78 acre field. And this was a field that really just was straight management. We're in a cover crop, no-till, corn, soybeans operation. So typically we apply a 3-pass system, so a pre-emergence and then 2 post. And on this particular field, we didn't apply any fungicide or any foliar feed, so it didn't have any of that. No were applied, just straight average soybeans. And so for us, typical yield response is right around 48 bushel. And so, and you can see our field performance on this field back in 2015. We produced 48 bushel soybeans. We had a return on investment or profit loss of about $5 an acre. Return on investment loss was about negative 1.2%. Our production efficiency, we were still able to produce 116 bushels per $1,000 spent. So we were fairly efficient with our working capital, but we still had an acreage opportunity ratio of 50%, and that 51% means that 51% of this field was operating against an expected 0% return on investment, 0% or less. And then ultimately, we lost negative $387 on this field. So if we scroll back up, take a look at, see what Davis home. So this was, last year was actually soybeans on this field. And on this field, produced. It's a 112 acre field. Field average yield went 53 bushels per acre. We had a profit of $24 an acre. Return on investment was 5%. Production efficiency was 111 bushels per $1,000 spent. And ultimately, we made 2,700 across this field. We actually took this acreage out of production. This is where we had heavy compaction, and an old building site used to sit here also, and so we planted that to oats last year. That's why that area is such a high loss area. So, and for us, we have a hard time getting soybean yields out of the high 40 bushels, low 50 bushels. So we're always trying to look for ways to increase, production on our soybeans to try to get them up to right around 60 bushels. So, and if we look at this field back in 2014, this is when we did apply a foliar feed to the soybean crop. Pull up 2014 actual production soybeans. So if we look at the yield response on this 116 acre field, we actually were able to produce 62 bushel soybeans, had a profit per acre of $168 an acre, return on investment 27.5%. Granted, we also had strong commodity prices, but here we're looking for ways to increase soybean production because these are really productive farms. And then you can see our production efficiency, acreage opportunity ratio, and then finally total field profit. So on the years that we did apply, and I want to mention that in terms of the 2014 and 2015 growing season, the weather conditions were pretty much ideal both years. Where we applied foliar feed in 2014, we produced 62 bushels. And where we didn't, it was anywhere from 47 to 53. So now what we're going to do is come in and create our 2016 scenario on this field, because this grandma's field is going back to soybeans this year. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to copy a scenario. And we're going to base this scenario off of actual production soybeans 2014, which will be using the 62.7 bushels per acre, and then the crop budget that we have in place for 2014. And then we'll readjust that, match our 2016 crop budget. So we'll call this 26 soybean production. 2016 soybean production. We're going to go ahead and click save. And all we're doing is creating a carbon copy and renaming that actual production soybeans 2014 scenario. So after we created that, now we're going to update our budget. So we'll click on the options drop-down menu right beside our planning scenario 2016 soybean production. We'll click edit budget. And for time being, I've already created our 2016 soybean crop budget template. So right now we're looking at a commodity price for soybeans of $9.82. We have our equipment costs broken down. We have our seed costs broken down. Fertilizer, $25 an acre, just basic plow down. Herbicide, insecticide, right now this is only including our pre-emergence and then 2 post-emergence. So, and then we have our insurance, interest, grain drying, handling, and hauling, land, labor, overhead home, personal, custom hire, and then other. The other on this field, we repaired some tile. So, and then we amortize that to cost out over 116 acres. So we'll go ahead and click save and apply the new crop budget to this field. So now you can see when we apply our new crop budget, but we're still going to have to add in the additional $19.17 for that foliar feed application. we'll come back, edit budget again. What I'm going to do, I'm going to increase our sprayer cost. So now we're going to be running a 4-pass system. For us to run our sprayer over an acre, it costs roughly about $3 an acre. Then we'll come down to our herbicide and insecticide, or what I call our protection program, and we're going to add on the additional $19.70, which takes our total application cost up to $57.02. So, and then we'll go ahead and click save on this. And this is projecting that with the fungicide and foliar, or with the foliar feed application, that we're still going to get 62 bushel soybeans. So, and by the time we apply our new crop budget, we're still going to make about $33 an acre, have a return on investment of 5.8%, have a production efficiency of 107 bushels per $1,000 spent, acreage opportunity ratio of 40%, and a total field profit of right around $3,900. Now, let's create another scenario where we're going to save our application. So save our $19.17 and only be running the sprayer over the field 3 times, saving the additional $3 of application cost, but we're going to be, presumably taking a yield hit, or just expecting to have an average yield on this field based off of our previous year's or last year's yield performance. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy a scenario, and we're going to base this off of 2016 soybean production. We'll label this 2016 soybean production, no foliar. Save that. So, and what we're going to do here is actually create a whole field zone by clicking the green Add Zone button. And then we're going to select our entire field zone. So the little box with the line running through it. And I'm going to name this zone no foliar application. And then we're just going to reduce our target yield down to, we're going to start at negative 10% to reduce it down to that 47 to 53 bushel range. We're going to keep our commodity price. We're going to adjust our sprayer cost back down to $9. Seed cost is going to stay the same, but we're also going to reduce our herbicide and insecticide cost back down to $38.35. So we reduced our cost and we reduced our yield, are the two things that are changing. And we're going to see which one has more of an economic impact. So it's just saving right now. So you can see our zone performance. So, and really we only dropped yield about 6 bushels per acre. But when we dropped just by 6 bushels, now we're losing about negative $5.74 an acre. We have a negative return on investment of 1%. So Jason asked, do you have a demo for your management program? Could you provide a little bit more of further explanation of our management program? So I guess what we do, So I'll actually hop into another scenario. So we actually ran a foliar feed and fungicide test plot on about 55 acres last year. And we were really trying to throw the works at this. So just pulling up here. So on this 55 acre test plot, or 55 and a half acre test plot that we did, we applied a fungicide and foliar feed. And I can't remember what the products that we actually used on this, but you can see that just on this 55 acres, we had a zone average yield for soybeans of right around 70 bushels. By the time we calculated our new budget in, we actually made $58 an acre. And on this, it was fungicide, foliar feed. I also want to, there was an inside in there also. Typically, on the large majority of our acres, we last year did not apply a fungicide on all of our acres, just from the cost prohibitive. Um, Soybean prices were down, so we were looking for every way that we could to scratch together some income or some money to help in the crop. So, but just by looking at this result really made us realize that, hey, maybe we should be putting a fungicide and foliar feed on all of our acres across. So this year we went ahead and pulled the trigger on the foliar feed. And so, but just by looking at these results, um, you can see it was well economic payback. On this 55 acres, we made about $3,100. And every management operation field is different and unique. So for us, the main struggle has always been how do we get high yielding soybeans? And what we started to realize and started doing is, all right, transition over to making soybeans a high input crop relatively. So if we go back to grandma's, then we will hop into our 2016 soybean production, no foliar feed application. So say we just produce 56 bushel soybeans, and we can go ahead and edit this or adjust this back down to negative 15%. Because we did have quite a few fields that yielded anywhere from 44 to 47 bushels. So that just takes it down to 53. If we decrease that even more, say negative 20%, to wherever really we feel comfortable and confident. So there's even 50 bushels. And from the previous year's plots and fields where we applied their feed, we've seen a yield response anywhere from 62 bushels to 70 bushels. So I like to be on the conservative side. Maybe we could only go up to 60, things like that. But for us in these conditions, even if we just keep our working capital in our pocket, we're going to have to find some other way to increase soybean production on our productive ground. So we can either run this pre ahead of time. So say we didn't have the soybean data and we were using the charts to project, all right, with this test trial, can we expect, a 5% yield increase? Then the numbers are really, really easy to play around with. I like using the numbers because we've already done some pre-test test trials before. Yeah, you can use it before committing to buy. That's the way we actually do a lot of our product selection. About 2 weeks ago, we were spraying Cobra on a field of beans. The cost was right around $32.50. So we knew it was going to stunt the beans because it was 10 ounces of Cobra. But we wanted to see, all right, we have taken a yield loss to water Roundup resistant water. So all of this can be done ahead of time. And then what I'll do is we can print out a one-page document to see, all right, based off of previous year's performance, maybe it's plot data, maybe it's data from other fields, sometime just somewhere where we're getting a yield source. We can also project too. But what we always do after we create our two scenarios where we didn't apply a foliar feed and where we did apply a foliar feed, we can come up to compare scenarios. So, and then in 2014, the way we determined the cost was we actually made that decision in season. And so, and then this year we and booked ahead all of, and we applied a foliar feed, or we'll apply a foliar feed on all 750 acres of soybeans that we have had. So on the left-hand side, we're going to have a non-foliar feed with a yield hit, or typical normal yield for us, which is right around 49, right around 50 bushels, and then compare that to our 2016 production, where we're producing 62 bushel soybeans with the foliar feed. And you can see, really, even though you're saving $19.70, you're giving up 10, 11, 12 bushels, which ultimately goes from a profit loss of negative $67 to a positive $33. Investment goes from a negative 12% in this case to a positive 5.8%. We've increased our production efficiency from about 89 bushels to now 107 bushels per $1,000 spent. We've decreased our acreage opportunity ratio by about 44%. Working capital opportunity loss, whereas before this entire field was unprofitable, and granted in this field we do have some water management issues that we did fix, so you shouldn't see those. But the ultimate ground truth thing is when we harvest this field come this fall. So, and what you can do, you can print this page, take it to your producer, say, hey, you know what, I encourage you to look at the option of foliar feeding, even though it's going to be an added cost. You're going to be seeing an added benefit to it also. So, and for us in a year where everyone's trying to save money, we're looking on our soybean acres. How are we going to increase production and, more importantly, increase our return on investment and profitability? By becoming more efficient with our working capital. Even though we have a higher cost of production, we're also raising more soybeans. So, and I can boldly tell you that in a normal year where we don't apply a foliar, these are pretty typical responses for us, and I'm basing this off of our own operation. So we can create all of our crop budget templates And then simply with one click, we can see and plug in the budgets. So in terms of application, this was a flat rate across this entire field. I think we're projecting to apply about between 15 and 20 gallon. We have a target spray date of August 4th. So when we get into pod set and pod filling is when we're going to be spraying this field, or our soybean fields. So, and all of this is open for interpretation. So if the producer says, you know what, I don't think that I can really get 62 bushel soybeans, I might only be able to get 58. We come in, click the green add zone button, select our whole field zone, which will pull up our budget. Refresh the page here quick. So, and actually when we were creating this scenario on our own farm, so we're actually getting these back in, right around the March timeframe when we were buying chemicals. We'll come to 2016 soybean production. It's the whole field zone button. We'll call this zone yield adjust. Say we're only going to maybe pull like a 8% yield hit, or adjust it down, so we're calculating now at 57 bushels. So then we can come back up to our compare scenarios. So Profit Zone Manager allows you to have quite a bit of flexibility. On the left hand, this is where we produce 60 bushel soybeans and saving the extra $19.70 of product and $3 application. And then compare that to our scenario on the right hand side here, where we applied a foliar feed and now we're producing 57 bushels. So you can see even with our increased costs, now we're only losing negative $15 per acre, return on investment of negative 2.7%. And to me, I'd much rather lose only $1,800 than losing $7,800 on this field in today's market conditions. So it's a simple scenario to run. We can also come back and edit the budget on this. If we readjust this to 0%, so really not changing the yield increase or decrease, based off of our expected production of 62 bushels along with our crop budget that we do have placed, we can then pull up our break-even commodity price map and determine, all right, what is the average where we need to market our grain? So is it 960, 810, or we can combine these different map layers. So it's a really versatile tool. You use it for a lot of different options. So, and I do have this map filtered at 10-foot resolution. You can see which direction combine picked at. So, now I would like to open the floor up for any questions anyone might have regarding this scenario. I also want to mention, if anyone is interested in running this scenario on any of their S fields, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email, and we can use your specific numbers with your specific fields, and make the best decision possible for you and your operation or your customers. What is a nice feature is if you have all of your crop budget templates or your sales sheets, we can pre-upload all of those into the crop budget templates. So what I could have done is created a Dan Bahe 2016 soy production crop budget with foliar feed application, and a Dan Bahe 2016 production non-foliar feed with the different costs associated in there too. So all this work can be done before a meeting with a customer or during preseason, everything like that. So I want to thank everyone for joining our July 13th intermediate planning webinar. And this webinar is being recorded and will be posted onto YouTube on our YouTube page after it is completed. So you can go back and re-watch this webinar. Or like I said before, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email and we can run through these scenarios. So thank you for joining our July 13th webinar, and see you next week.